What's good? How y'all doing this afternoon? Welcome back to the Dun's favorite. It's your boy the Dun here on Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. And today we're talking about Brad Holmes, the director of college scouting for the Los Angeles Rams. And you know how I do it. You know, I got to go to the source of people who know these guys the most. All right, Jake, how you doing this evening, man? How you doing this afternoon, man? Let everybody know who you are, where they can find you, man.
Yeah, I'm great, man. I appreciate you having me. You can find me at JAKE ELLENBOGEN DTSN on Twitter. Also on Downtown Rams. I have a channel called JAKE ELLENBOGEN on YouTube, and just started a show yesterday with my cousin Adam, who you might see come across here. We're in the studio right now, called the AJ Show. So,
okay. All right. Appreciate you joining us. And also, man, congratulations on y'all win yesterday against the Seahawks.
Appreciate that, man. It was a huge win. Pretty crazy game. Winning on all three phases. It was something special. I mean, it didn't go down obviously the way they planned because they planned to have John Wolford for the entirety of the game. But sometimes when things happen, it's next man up mentality. And Jared Goff had to come in with a mangled thumb and pretty much hold down the fort.
Yeah, he did a good job, man. I ain't gonna lie. I thought the Seahawks was going to win that game. I predicted them to win, but hey, I do respect the Rams defense, but I thought that Goff not playing yesterday was going to be a factor, but played on the injured thumb. Yeah, hey, you got to respect them.
Absolutely.
So, but if y'all new to the channel, y'all already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. Share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics. And hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. All right. Now, Brad Holmes, he's been with the organization for 13 years. All right. Pretty much were there when the team was not doing good, when they was in St. Louis. Then they moved to Los Angeles and, fortune started turning for the team. And then they, but even before y'all moved, before the team moved, you drafted guys like Aaron Donald, Todd Gurley. So tell me a little bit about Brad Holmes, man.
Yeah, so this is a guy, like you said, he's been there since St. Louis. I always say when you hold on to anybody in the front office or any sort of position in an NFL organization or any sporting team that moves, they have to be top of the line. You hold on to them for a year as kind of like introducing them to the elements. So say Brad Holmes, was there for 1 year in LA and got fired after 2016 when they brought in Sean McVay. All right. The fact that he's been through all those regimes, it's impressive, and it's a testament to how hard he's worked. And as we know, he goes from somebody he's a public relations intern in 2003, and then he really wanted to move into scouting, and eventually he got into it as a scouting assistant in 2004, and then shortly after, national combine scout, area scout, national scout, and then he becomes the director of college scouting in 2013. And here he is now, vying for, a head position as a GM. And that's the pinnacle. When you get up to that level, that's the highest you can really go in that regard. I actually have some experience, talking to a few Rams scouts and talking about their background. And not all the scouts are always aiming to be GMs. But this, 41-year-old is somebody that people really think could move on to that next level and be a GM. In his time, I mean, he doesn't get full credit for who they draft because, of course, obviously Leslie and Sean McVay and Jeff Fisher and what have you made picks, but he gets a lot of credit. And getting guys like you mentioned, Donald and Gurley, but going up and trading for Jared Goff, obviously he's somebody that Brad Holmes likely wanted. Cam Akers, Henderson, more recent, Josh Reynolds, John Johnson, Tyler Higbee. So there's a lot of talent there, including even going back a little bit further with Alec Ogletree, who did, go to a Pro Bowl. So, there's a lot of talent, 25 Pro Bowlers to be exact, that have come through the doors since he's been there. The Rams are also since 2013 when he came into, that position as the director of college scouting. They're 64-58 with a 524 win percentage. They had a Super Bowl run in 2018. We'll see what they do this year. And I mean, he arguably is part of the team that drafted maybe the greatest player of all time when it's all said and done, Aaron Donald. So, there's a lot to like there. Obviously, from what I've seen and the fact that he's been kind of at the forefront, it's really going to be hard to let somebody like that go. But one thing I can tell you, man, is this is an organization. This is a world-class organization that people don't talk about because they were so bad for so long. They've really become that you want to go there, you want to make a name for yourself type of organization. And, it's just a beautiful opportunity, for somebody like that. And, there's some other guys around the league that are getting interviewed. And, of course, talk about the coaches with Brandon Staley.
Yes.
So
in a minute. Yep.
It's at the end of the day, this is a place where, you feel like I can go to the Rams and either I'm going to work my way up to the point where I don't want to leave, or I'm going to find another spot and they're going to be really understanding and push me. Not only be okay with me interviewing other places, but they're going to push me on to people and shout me out. And I think that's a big key thing about this organization.
Exactly. And, I was going to bring up Brandon Staley because if Brad Holmes get hired, if it's with the Falcons or any other team, I'm pretty sure he's going to want his own head coach. And the Falcons has already said that they want the GM and the head coach to be sync with each other. We didn't really have that because the past couple of coaches, they weren't sync with Thomas Dimitroff. Dimitrov's philosophy was offense. He wanted to build an offensive juggernaut. And we hired these defensive guys who were not proven, by the way, and they didn't really know. One coach didn't know what to get, and Mike Smith. He just said, just get the best player available.
Yeah.
Then you had Dan Quinn. His philosophy each year changed on, well, we want to be a 3-4, we want to be a 4-3, and, want to be the Seattle of the South, like instead of us building our own identity, in which led him to get fired. So I feel like, and I've been talking about Brandon Staley for a good minute. By the way, now everybody here in Atlanta is just catching on to Brandon Staley, and I'm like, y'all didn't even know who this guy was. I knew Staley before, when he was a linebackers coach in Chicago.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, Vic Fangio, I think, is the best defensive coordinator in football, and of course, he becomes the head coach, and he brings this guy over, and it really says a lot, Don. When you bring somebody like Brandon Staley, an outside linebackers coach, over to your roster, because that tells me that's not just like anybody. Clearly he handpicked him and was like, I want that guy on my team. And look, I mean, Brandon Staley, he's a one-year defensive coordinator. And in his first year, he took a team that, let's be honest here, the offense really hasn't been up to par where, they have been in the past. And he carried this team. His defense carried this team. And when I hear people say, well, he had Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, well, you saw the game yesterday when Aaron Donald left the game.
Yeah, the defense. Look, the thing about Brandon Staley I love is the focus on the pass rush. Yeah, he's an offensive line. He's an outside linebackers coach for a reason. And most if you know anything about that position, that's pass rush, pretty much. And you saw what he did in Chicago. Yeah, he was only there for a year in Denver, but look at what he's doing to that Rams defense. Y'all had Wade Phillips there. Wade Phillips was he's like one of the best defensive minded coaches in all time. That's not debatable. But for him that young, and I call him a young defensive minded prodigy, because he's real young and he understands how to get to the quarterback, how to put pressure on quarterbacks. So
I think with what you were saying about Wade, and you're very complimentary of him. One thing that has to be said is these older defensive coordinators, you have to play like you can't just call games how you called them in the 80s. And I can't stress that enough, because today's game is so different. I think this year was the most passing yards of any season in NFL history. It's going to keep going up. It really is. But when you have mobile quarterbacks everywhere, and the best quarterbacks are mobile, you have to figure out a way to stop them. I think Brandon Staley does a great job. And I mean, just, his resume speaks for itself when you look at this season. Kyler Murray wasn't really able to do much until, garbage time. Russell Wilson was held to under 500 yards in 2 games. Actually, 3 games he was held under 800 yards. So, I mean, they've really bottled up Russell Wilson. They bottled up Kyler Murray. Look, Dak Prescott was on pace for 6,000 passing yards. And, the first game of the year, with a limited offseason, no preseason, Brandon Staley's defense really held him down. So the mobile quarterbacks, and it's also going to be interesting if they play Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, what they'll do, because he's another mobile one. But he's just had such a great game plan. And, credit to him going out and getting his guys. Two of them, one I have to, obviously people know his name. He had more sacks than Leonard Floyd. He had more sacks than Khalil Mack. Leonard Floyd, spoiler alert there, had 2 sacks yesterday in the win. He's been really huge. I think he's the best run defender at the edge position in the entire league right now. Yeah. And I think now his pass rushing is coming up to speed. He's a late bloomer, don't get me wrong. And he's a first-round bust in the sense that he didn't really live up to his potential. But, with Brandon Staley, he's looked really good. And Brandon Staley also brought over a guy from the Broncos. The Broncos were trying to keep. They were trying to kind of, waive him and put him on the practice squad. But the Rams are really good at snatching guys like that. Another guy they did that with, Darius Williams, who's having an amazing season. They did that with Justin Hollins. And Justin Hollins is a 5th-round pick out of Oregon. Look, he's not, a superstar. He could be someday. I mean, he's really good. But I just love that Staley was like, that's my guy. Let's go out and get him. And they listened to him. So, he's really done a nice job. And another thing I can't stress enough is that these linebackers are good, okay? But they're not all world. You don't look at Troy Reader and Kenny Young and think, wow, Patrick Willis and Luke Kuechly are sitting there. No. So the thing about that is he's actually really hidden their shortcomings, and he's really not allowed the linebackers to be a factor, especially after, letting go somebody like Corey Littleton, who was balling out last year, and I said was a top 5 linebacker last year. So, they let him go, and it wasn't really a huge deal because Brandon Staley masked, their flaws so well. It's just he's done an incredible job, and, he's done an incredible job with some of Brad Holmes' players.
Yeah. And going back to Brad Holmes, we made up pretty much talked about Staley, but I feel like Staley should get, a head coaching job this year. Like I said, I talked about him back in like late September, early October for head coaching.
I definitely don't want to lose him. Let's be real here. I definitely don't want to lose him.
Of course, y'all don't. But hey, with the Falcons right now, man, we've been historically been a bad defensive team for years, and like. People sitting up here saying, well, it's the quarterback. It's not the quarterback. Matt Ryan is far from the problem.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy when people say that. I mean, I think actually really the biggest issue is that I think this team was finding something with their defense. The Rams played their defense in 2017. I think to me, this defense was very fast. And I think they were, like you said, they were molding that, Southern, Seattle look. But the problem was when they lost the Super Bowl, the wheels came off. Exactly. And the Super Bowl is designed for the winner to be, written in history. And the loser, you're not runner-up. It's designed to kill you. And we saw that. The Falcons didn't go back. Carolina lost, and Cam Newton was never the same. The Rams, we'll see if they go back this year. But in 2018, when they lost, they didn't make the playoffs the next year. And now the Niners, I mean, there couldn't be any more proof that the Super Bowl hangover is real because the Super Bowl is designed to destroy whoever loses.
Look how it's designed, because you got to think about it. If you go into the Super Bowl, either team going to the Super Bowl, AFC or NFC team, guess what? Those teams that fired coaches, they're looking at your staff to take talent away from. They're looking at, okay, let's see if I can get this coach to be our head coach. And guess what? They're going to bring some of their guys with them as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and that's pretty much how it is. So, and not only that, you got players on the team who asking for a bit. I helped y'all win the Super. I helped y'all get to the Super Bowl. So you got to pay me, and that's how it is, But with the Falcons, man, it's just been sad. And going back to GM talk, like Dimitroff has never focused on defense, and I want to emphasize he never focused on the defensive line. Like it's been years. I don't even know. Like it's been years we just drafted guys that did not even work out. Like the Vic Beasleys, the Tat McKinleys, Grady Jerry worked out. We drafted guys like John Kaminsky in the later rounds. He looked like he's still a project player, and He could be a serviceable player. You look at guys like Marlon Davidson that we just drafted this past year. We don't know we have in him neither. So this year, I'm really focused on the defensive line. Like we have to draft in the trenches, and I know Brad Holmes has done a good job at drafting D-line. Y'all O-line is still kind of iffy right now, but I know one thing, that y'all defense has been good for the past 2 years, and that's not a debate.
Yeah, I mean, this is also somebody that he's lived in Atlanta. And his father, he has bloodlines because his father played guard for the Pittsburgh Steelers, back then. So this is somebody that, I think has, obviously the pedigree to the NFL. He's shown that, he can work his way up the rungs. I mean, he came in 2003 as, somebody that was just an assistant, a guy that was interning. And here he is now, he's interviewing for general manager jobs. It's pretty impressive, but it's also interesting, these parallels, right? Because Atlanta and the Rams have actually been connected, with the whole Les Snead thing.
Yep.
So it's like we owe you now, because like Les Snead, like we love Les Snead in LA, although I'm in New York right now, but that's besides the point. But in LA, like Rams fans absolutely love Les Snead, regardless of what they tell you, regardless if they throw their, TV remote at the TV. They know that pick that they're screaming at. Maybe I've been guilty of before, is going to work out. And, I think that, that says a lot. Les Snead has been huge for the Rams, but he came from Atlanta. And now Atlanta, I think it would be very fitting if Atlanta went out and got Brad Holmes. It's wondering, it makes me wonder how much of an impact it would have on the Rams. I don't think it'd have a serious impact just because the Rams do such a nice job of putting guys in position to take over. So I wouldn't be necessarily worried about replacing him, but, the fact that he's from the St. Louis Rams and he was there in 2003, it's kind of special to have guys like that still in the building. So, but, I'd wish him the best of luck. And, I'm hoping the Falcons can right the ship. I've always, respected them. Big fan of Matt Ryan and what, he can do. And, they have a couple guys that have come on my show before, in Deidre Sennett. I talked to, Kaminsky. I like Kaminsky a lot, Ito Smith. So there are guys out there that, I'm familiar with that are on that roster. And, I root for. And, of course, I don't know if you'll bring him back, but absolutely love Todd Gurley. I don't like the way he was treated by the fan base on his way out of L.A. So I was hoping he would really go off this year. And I'll tell you, it's weird with the Falcons because I felt like at one point they were a lot better of a team than people gave them credit for. They were in every game early on in the season.
It's the coaching, man. It's the coaching. It's the coaching. Like you mentioned Todd Gurley. Like Todd Gurley, did he have issues with his knees? Yes. But let's be real. Like this man should have got more touches on the ball.
Oh, I agree.
Like Dirk Cutter does not like to run the football.
I know.
At all. And
I don't really like Dirk Cutter either.
Who does? We don't.
I don't know who does. Apparently the higher ups do, but I didn't like him on Tampa Bay. I felt like he was a problem in Tampa Bay, and I felt like maybe he held back Jameis Winston then and there. So
and then OJ, let's talk about OJ Howard. Like OJ Howard, you drafted this man, and this man didn't even get that many targets. So why you draft him?
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous. I mean, OJ Howard was a, super athlete at tight end, and not just an athlete, but I thought he was a really good tight end prospect. He wasn't George Kittle like I was, pounding the table for. Yeah. Won that one. But no, I agree with you. I mean, like the thing that bums me out when I look at Atlanta is I do really like Marlon Davidson. I was at the Senior Bowl and I watched that guy work, and I think he is going to be good. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, and he was like, I think my fourth interior defensive lineman in the draft or third. I mean, I had a high grade on him. Yeah. Very quick first step. But my biggest thing is don't make the the draft class of last year with all of the turnover, don't make that obsolete. Yeah. Build around those players, develop those players. Don't give up on them because you have a new regime. And
that's the thing right now. Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm not giving up on anybody because
I know you're not.
Some of these guys like Isaiah Oliver, Kenneth Sheff, AJ Terrell, these guys are young. Like everybody keep trashing Isaiah. I'm like, Isaiah Oliver, he's playing in the wrong scheme. We playing cover 3. This man did not play cover 3 at Colorado. He played man.
Absolutely. And it was awesome. I think he's the best cornerback in that draft. And he can, when these guys are like all of a sudden like, oh, I didn't know he could play. Well, sometimes it's fit. And, you're putting a round, a square peg in a round hole. It's not going to work. As much as you jam it in, you're not going to get it in. So, I think that's definitely something that needs to be said. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, Colorado had some ballers, from that. So, that team, that secondary, that coach definitely deserves a raise. But, Isaiah Oliver, I think in a different, situation could definitely end up being something special. I was a little surprised that you guys let, Desmond, now I forget his name, Desmond Trufant go in free agency. Definitely really liked him. But, I think it's this year, you wipe the slate clean, you go out, you get a Brad Holmes, you steal our defensive coordinator and Brandon Staley. And you just, here's the thing. I said this on another podcast, Cool Your Jets, that I went on talking about Brandon Staley, because you have competition over him. I'm just warning.
Yeah, the Jets, man, they got the same ideas I got, because I also talked about Don Martindale being the head coach for the Falcons, and they love Don Martindale too. I think he's a great coach.
Yeah, no, I mean he's definitely looks good, for the Baltimore. But what I'll say with Brandon Staley though, when people are like, why would we hire a defensive-minded coach and neglect the offense? Here's the thing, though. He's working very close to Sean McVay, and you can't be, despite what people think, you can't be a defensive coordinator if you don't know the offense. And so, he really understands both sides. And this is somebody that, if you want somebody like Brandon Staley on your team and you want to know, kind of what he has been through, this is somebody that has gone through community colleges and what have you. He's really worked his way up the rungs. I mean, we're talking about, a guy that went like John Carroll. He was a defensive coordinator for John Carroll. I believe that's where London Fletcher went to school. So, he's done all of that. And then he was a graduate assistant at Tennessee. And then eventually he went into the NFL. And it's like, that's it. Like his NFL experience is very limited. So, I'm not worried about age. I think age is just a number. Sean McVay's proven that. This is right around the age that, Kyle Shanahan was hired. Now, hear me out. He's a first-year defensive coordinator, so there's teams around the league, as mentioned in the broadcast yesterday, that may not feel 100% comfortable with him, and might feel like they need a year, on him. But I haven't seen the Rams be a number one defense in my lifetime. So I'm just saying he gets there and all of a sudden, the whole thing changes. I understand being a defensive coordinator, being a leader of men, and a head coach is different. But let's not act like he needs another year to show that this wasn't a fluke, because this isn't a fluke. Simple as that.
Yeah, you pretty much elevated what Wade Phillips left, and that right there is like, because I thought when Wade Phillips, I thought y'all were gonna take a nosedive, But I saw y'all hired Brandon Staley, and I'm like, okay, well, y'all ain't gonna take a nosedive. Y'all will be all right. Y'all will be kind of right there where y'all at. But this man, like, he shot it up,
Yeah.
But one more question, man, before we get out of here, man, because like I said, I love Brad Holmes, and I also like, you can't go wrong with either Holmes and Staley connection. But what I'm gonna pose this to you, and then we're gonna end the show. So if Brad Holmes become the GM, and we got the 4th round pick, do you think he's gonna draft a quarterback?
I mean, that's a great question. Personally, I said I liked Matt Ryan. I mean, I wouldn't like him to be in the NFC West, but I could see him being traded to Kyle Shanahan, with the 49ers. And then at that point, maybe you get their pick, and who knows? But I think in this draft, you're picking at 4. So I mean, I think like a Trey Lance might be where I would go. I'm a big fan of him. The problem with this draft, and I'll say this right now, if you don't get, Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Wilson, it's a huge drop off after that. And at that point, I honestly wouldn't even take a quarterback in this draft.
I wouldn't take a quarterback, man. Like you have Matt Ryan. The problem is the defense. I would trade out of the top 10. I would trade out of the top 10.
Well, I think we've seen in history, in seasons past, trading out of the top 10, you're more likely to, you get more capital. And I think for a team that's rebuilding, I don't know. I see both sides, because like if somebody like Wilson is there, what he can do off script. And I think Trey Lance is QB2. And I know people are thinking I'm crazy for that, but just because the guy didn't play this year, he only played one game and threw his first interception in college ever. People are already off that bandwagon. I'm like, I mean, think about this. He's so legit that they got together and were like, all right, you know what? We're going to schedule a game entirely to showcase this guy's ability. Mm-hmm. That's how legit he is. So, I'm really, really high on Trey Lance. I think he's going to – I mean, of course, we don't really know how the draft process will go, but big fan of him. And, I think he might be the option at 4 if you go quarterback. If not, then, yeah, trading out of the top 10. I mean, it worked for the Rams, and they traded away all those picks and, got all those players and kept Sam Bradford, in the RG3 trade. Sometimes that's the way to go. And I don't think that'd be a bad idea, man.
Yeah, and I think, at 4, if we stay at 4, pick a guy like Micah Parsons or Russo from Miami. We need, like I said, we need a pass. We don't have a pass rush at all. So, yeah, especially if we get a guy like, Staley as our head coach, he's going to look at that. He's going to look like, yeah, we are not good at pass rush. So I need to bring in my guy to set this off this first year in my draft.
Michael Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, but here's my take on the quarterback situation. Matt Ryan is not the problem, and I've said this before.
Oh, I don't think he's the problem.
If we get a quarterback, you got more rounds to get a quarterback and let him learn under Matt Ryan. I like Brady White from Memphis. I think he reminds me of a Russell Wilson when he was at Wisconsin a little bit. I know you don't see it, but if you really look at the tape, go back and look at the tape on Russell Wilson back then, and you look at Brady White, they play very identical. It's just the talent. He doesn't have the talent at Memphis.
You're the third person to bring up Brady White to me and say check him out. I haven't checked him out yet, so I'm not saying that I haven't seen it. I don't see it. I'm saying I haven't seen it. So, potentially you could be right there. That's an interesting one I didn't even think of.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I that's how I feel, man. I think what's good, Jew. How you doing, man? And also, Jansen, you said Arthur Smith or Eric Bieniemy. I'm choosing Arthur Smith all day.
I like Arthur Smith a lot. What he's done for Tennessee. So
exactly,
I'm with you on that.
Yes, I'm choosing somebody who actually called the plays versus somebody just sitting there and twiddling their thumbs. That's just me. But hey, once again, man, appreciate you coming on, man. Once again, let everybody know who you are and where they can find you.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me. I'm JAKE ELLENBOGEN, as it says down there. You can find me pretty much anywhere at this point: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. JK Bogan DTSN is my Twitter. Feel free to follow me. I will follow you back. On YouTube, JAKE ELLENBOGEN. And then I have a show. We're in the studio right now. It's called The AJ Show. I'm doing it with my cousin Adam Grego. So you can check that out. Also, if anyone that happens to be a Steelers fan, you saw the Steelers jersey come across the screen, I have to mention it. He's here right now. He has a great channel. It's Adam Steele. Go follow him if you want, the best Steelers content on earth.
All right, and then we're gonna have a little talk after we go off air too, man. So don't go nowhere. Just a
sounds good, brother.
All right, you guys. Now we about to go ahead and get off here. I know the Saints about to play the Bears. Everybody hoping that the Bears can pull this off because don't want to see those Saints win anything. But,
all right, I'm with you there. All right, we're rooting for this. I want another crack at Tom Brady, so we're good.
Exactly. All right. If you're new to the channel, y'all already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics, and hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. Wallace said I would like Smith as a head coach, man. He getting interviewed, I think, this week coming up. So we'll see how the interview goes. All right. With that being said, this is the Don with another episode of Don's Favor here on Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. Y'all have a great afternoon. Enjoy your Sunday evening.